This video will explain how we are going to deal with singular propositions in this class. So I want you to think back to an argument that we talked about at the beginning of the class, the kangaroo argument. So the kangaroo argument, put into a little bit more of a standard form, says, all kangaroos are flying things. Karin is a kangaroo. Therefore, Karin is a flying thing. So this argument is clearly valid, but how do we prove it? How do we deal with statements like Karin is a kangaroo? Because this kind of looks like a standard form categorical syllogism, but it's not, because the second premise and the conclusion are what we call singular propositions. They're propositions that are about a single individual. They're not about a class of things. As I said, statements like Karin is a kangaroo are called singular propositions. So the textbook excerpt that I had you read has some terrible ways that we might deal with these statements, and we're going to ignore these suggestions. If you want to read about, why I think they're terrible, go check out the handout on complications for categorical syllogisms, and I go into detail about why the solutions presented in the book don't work. So instead, I've come up with an alternate solution, one that will bring the treatment of these type of statements in line with how modern day logic treats these statements. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a lowercase letter to symbolize the individual. For example, we could use K to stand for Karin, and then we'll continue to use P for the predicate term. So how we would translate Karin is a kangaroo would be as K is a P. Okay, and then when we want to diagram the singular propositions, we're going to do it in a similar way to the way we did the particular statements, okay? So we're going to use a two-circle Venn diagram with two circles labeled S and P, just like we always do when we're diagramming standard form categorical propositions. However, in this case, the S circle will be there simply sort of as a placeholder, because there's no subject term in this. The subject term is a single individual. It's not a class, so we can't have this circle for the class. So S is just there as a placeholder. We will then place a lowercase k in the appropriate circle in the diagram, just as we did when placing an X for particular propositions. Since we know that K is a P, we know that the K goes somewhere in the P circle. But where? We cannot put it in the part of the P circle that is outside the S circle. Let's look at the diagram, okay? So we can't put the K in the part of the circle, the P circle, that is outside of the S, because that would be saying that K is a P and it's not an S, and we don't know that. We don't really know anything about its relationship to S. We don't even know what S is. And we can't put the K in the part of the P circle that's in the intersection of where the P and the S circle overlap, because that would be to say that K is both a P and an S. And just from the statement, Karin is a kangaroo, so K is a P, we don't know that K is also an S. So we have to put it on the line. So just like we did with X's, where we weren't sure which side of the circle it should go in, we put it on a line so that we don't commit ourselves. So, like I said there. So that's all there is to it. That's how we'll diagram them as a singular proposition. In the next video, I will explain how this translates to doing arguments. So how we diagram a sentence like Karin is a kangaroo within the context of a whole argument.